What's up? 2023, I'm ready. Next week I have the Tarawera Ultramarathon, part of the Ultra Trail World Series, 102 Ks on my local trails, and this is my fourth time building up for the event, and I want to share with you some of the things I've learned over the past 3 build-ups that I've applied to this build-up, and that goes from coming 14th overall to getting stretched out at 95k. Yes, 95. I legitimately thought I was going to die. And then last year I got a stress fracture and didn't even make it to the start line. Well, I mean, it was cancelled because of COVID, but I wouldn't have made it anyway. So taking those 3 build-ups, everything I've learnt from there, I've applied to this year, and it has gone, touch wood, almost perfectly. So I want to share with those 6 things. But first, for 2023, I want to invite you to my first live workshop of the year, ABCs to Running PBs framework. So that's going to teach you evidence-backed principles and practices that you can immediately implement in your training to become a better, faster runner with more efficient, effective training principles and practices. It's everything that I've learned and applied and optimized over the last decade as a PhD researcher, a sports scientist, a coach, and an athlete myself. I really want you to join up and come along, so just grab the description. We'll have the link, I hope, or somewhere, wherever. Google it up. March 2nd, sign up so you can get your seat and you can get the special deals that come along with that. But right now, let's go through the 6 things that I've learned and applied over this recent training plot. So, number 1 is moving my last ultra long run earlier in my program. So normally I'd have it around 3 weeks out, but this time I've moved it to 4 weeks out, just because I've felt like in the past I've just been slightly carrying too much fatigue into the ultra. Where I've still maybe performed well, I still have felt like over the early stages, especially in something like Tarawera, which is very runnable, I've lost, or I guess not had that extra 5 seconds to 10 seconds per K that I would have otherwise thought that I would have there based off of my training data. So this time I've just shifted my last long run. It was 65 Ks, just over 6 hours, fully on the trails, and I've just shifted that slightly earlier in my plan so that I can hopefully arrive on the start line slightly fresher than I have been in the past. Now the second thing is chilling on my speed work. So I'm a big advocate for incorporating speed work into ultramarathon training plans, build-ups, base phases, everything to ensure that you maintain a good holistic running plan. So you have good range of motion, force application over range of motion, you have good stimulation across the energy systems. But in the past, I've become too attached to the outputs of my speed work. So over the last couple of build-ups, not this one, I did some track racing, and then last year I got quite attached to getting under 9 minutes for 3,000 meters, and I did that almost straight away in December. Then I got faster and got lower into the 8 minutes, and then I wanted to race 3,000 national champs, which was only a couple of weeks before the ultra, and I ended up kind of diverging from my initial plan and doing a full-on 3,000 meter build and a 102k trail ultra build, and I got injured. So hey, this time I've incorporated some speed work. I'm still running like 16-minute 5k, but I just have not put any emphasis on the outputs and have stayed away from the track and the track racing. And so then the third thing, the regularity that I've implemented my ultra long runs. So in the past I've done 3-week builds, 1-week recovery as part of my training blocks, and typically that works well for me. But what I noticed in the ultra builds is that I'm carrying too much, or I guess the 4th week, so building for 3 weeks, and then the 4th week I was really fatigued, and that carried through over the next couple of weeks, and I lost consistency and quality in my training through, I guess if you have 3 weeks of quality and then 2 weeks of inconsistency, subpar quality, and I was either having to recover or I was overdoing it and pushing through that fatigue and under recovering. So this time what I've done is I've done 2 weeks and then 1 week off, and I haven't taken as aggressive down week after the 2 weeks, and I've been able to hold a more consistently higher volume across a block than I believe I would have if I did 3 weeks. I've done 2 and 1. And I've also found a similar thing building for marathons. If I'm trying to get in 2 relatively large, like 20 kilometer, kind of 12 to 15 mile plus workouts a week, I can do 2 weeks and 1 week recovery, and I find that really high quality. So that's the third one. The fourth one is then focusing on heart rate rather than pace and power in my ultra long runs. So when I'm saying long run for this context, it's like 4 hours plus. So what I've done in the past is I kind of get drawn into the outcome result scenario that can be attached to specific pace and power output. So I'm thinking, if I run X, I can achieve Y. If I am doing X power on this climb, then I can achieve Y result. Whereas when I use heart rate, which is more of an input-based rather than an output-based metric, I'm negating and just forgetting about any outcome result scenario and just focusing on the quality and specifics of the training and what I'm trying to do in the conditions. And I found that to be super effective, and it kind of leads into my fifth point that I've learned around visualization. So utilizing the positives and negatives, those thoughts, feelings and emotions that come up during an ultra. I have done 10 plus ultras now, from kind of that 60k to 100 and something k, and along those, like I've been in all the different mental positions, both positive and negative. And so what I've tried to do this time is really implement both the positive and negative thoughts, feelings and emotions during my training, and have rebuttals and responses that I work through, so that I know come race day that I'll be able to be in a position where I'm taking comfort and confidence in racing my own race and not getting drawn out into the external expectations and pressures that I'm putting on myself, or I perceive other people to be putting on me. And that was something I did really well in 2020 when I finished 14th. I completely let go of all expectations and outcomes during the race when I was finding myself to be quite hot, something if you follow me on Strava, I really am challenged with the heat. And in the end, I had one of the best second halves of the race, probably the best second half of any ultra I've ever had. And that was just, I felt like I completely reached my potential within that. My performance potential was optimal for whatever outcome I got, which happened to be just over 10 hours, 14th place. And then the sixth thing has been to chill on my easy, non-specific training runs. So I call these non-specific runs because I have kind of a tertiary, or I guess graded system of importance of my runs. So obviously there's the ultra run, which is number one important. So I can see that quite far out, weeks in advance. I know that I need to have the right amount of energy, motivation and fatigue to carry into these ultra runs, and I need to know when I'm going to do them, where I'm going to do them, all the nutritional, hydration based stuff that I need for that run, and I know quite far in advance. So I have that's primary. Secondary is whatever kind of secondary focus I need to incorporate, whether it's VO2 max work, hills, trail specific strength, that's secondary. So that's primary. Secondary. Tertiary is my overall base aerobic fitness, muscular conditioning, all of that kind of stuff, which is zone 2 specific. But then outside of that, I need to make sure that I'm carrying a certain level of fatigue and volume within my plan, so that I can continue to build and overload and overreach my system, my muscular physiological system. It's still in a way that I can recover. And so this time, or the whole of 2022, coming back from my stress fracture, I've made sure that those extra runs, I guess, or non-specific runs have been zone 1, and I've found that has massively improved my consistency and the quality of my workouts, my training, and my overall volume across a block or a build or the whole year, really. And so that's something that I've done massively. Look, it's not going to work for everyone. It really has only worked for me once I started getting up to over 120 Ks a week. So that's kind of, your 80, 90 miles. Once I was able to drop more and more swimming and cycling coming from a triathlon background and incorporate larger and larger running volumes, I had to drop the intensity of those kind of non-specific training runs, and that's allowed me to maintain better consistency and better quality and overall recover faster, build better fitness and more targeted, effective, efficient fitness, which is all of what I work on within the Reignite Your Running course, my training plans, which you can buy online, description below, and if you're working with me one-on-one as a coach-athlete relationship. It's all about building that plan, having those zones, target intensities, and making sure that there is no grey junk training. Everything, even if it's non-specific, has a specific purpose. So wish me luck for Tarawera. Maybe I'll see you out there. If not, just comment in the description below. If you've got any questions, comments, queries, subscribe, check me out. Let's see what 2023 brings. Remember to sign up for that live workshop so you can get your running on track this year. Bring it on.